and welcome to episode 196, all about the LEGO Lord of the Rings video game, being the 196th part of That's What I'm Talking About. Hello, my name is Mary Clay. If that's too complicated for you, just call me MC. I've been experiencing the world of Tolkien for the first time, and right now I am doing whatever I want, including playing the LEGO Lord of the Rings video game. And today I am joined by our wonderful old friend, Casey Winters.
Hello.
Welcome back, Casey.
Hello, old friend. Hello.
Not old because you are old, but old because
I am
the
old.
existence
It's okay.
of this podcast.
It's okay. I've got a little bit of gray in my beard, more than the first time you and I recorded together and became friends.
I will say, yeah, since the last time you were on the podcast, you have had another child.
Oh
and that
goodness,
child is now old enough to drive and has gotten married. No, I'm just kidding.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you've had another child and it's been multiple. It's been too long, but
it's been a while. But I'm excited.
I decided to bring you out of the basement where I store all of my guests for a Lego episode, because I know that you love Lego. And notice I am working so hard to say Lego and not Legos.
Have you been doing that the whole time, or is that just for me that you're doing that?
I am making this intentional effort right now for you, but I do try to be conscious of it because I know the actual term is Lego.
It's so
not
funny.
Legos.
People do that to me all the time when they know that I'm like a big fan of Lego. They consciously will drop the S that is common in it's just an American thing. Like being a fan of Lego, I found that most European fans, they don't run into that. It's like an American thing that we call them Legos. But I don't care. You don't have to do that. But people just naturally try to drop the S for me, but it's okay. I can handle it.
You can take it.
I can take it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me when other people do it. For me, I try to stick to Lego, but I don't care what you do.
What is it about Lego that you are like so enthusiastic about? Like, what is it that I'm assuming like Lego was probably a big toy for you when you were a kid, and that's probably what like sparked that love. Yeah,
for sure. Lego was a huge thing growing up for me. Me and all my siblings, all of us, we built all the time. It was like our big hobby. And then when you're a teenager, you kind of get too cool for it, and I kind of stopped for a little while. But then I got really into it. Probably 25-ish is kind of when I started, probably. And then I actually worked for Lego, for the Lego store for a little while. For a couple years. And I became a manager there, and the best job. I would have stayed there until the end of time if you could.
I don't know why you left. I mean, probably money.
But you can't really support children on that
on a Lego salary,
on the salary and Lego discount. But I tried. I tried very hard.
We don't have money to buy groceries, but I do have a discount for the new Rivendell set.
That's exactly my thought process. Yes. So my house is covered in Lego. Multiple surfaces have Lego, and then we have a room. My son's room, where the two boys are. There's a bunch of Lego in there too. So, and all the kids love it. They all play it now, so it's fun. It's kind of a intergenerational thing.
I was gonna say it's a really great. I don't want to say toy because that feels very but like it is a toy, whatever.
It is,
but like it's something that is so great for so many different age levels, and it's something that with a family like yours where there are multiple ages across your children, it's something that the little one can do. And that's something that they're actually working on, like fine motor skills and whatnot. Listeners, of course, under supervision, because Legos for certain children can be a choking hazard. Just putting that disclaimer out there. And then, of course, it's like a fun, exercise for imagination. And then the kids can build whatever they want. And then you can sit down with like a instruction book and make like, I don't know, the Death Star or whatever if you wanted to. Something that like younger kids might find more tedious, but as adults we're like, puzzles, yay, completion, putting things together and making a whole picture and like having a a guidebook and solutions for every step, which is not a thing of life.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about it is it's very versatile in how you want to approach it, like, and it's fun seeing that with the kids, like they all use it very differently. My son, who's the oldest, he's 10 and he builds a lot and tries to build intricate things, and then he'll play with them, but he's really into the building. My daughter, she'll build, with me, but then once it's built, she is way more into the play side of things than just coming up with her own building ideas. She just likes to play. And then the 2-year-old just likes to dump buckets.
I was going to say, probably the destruction. Yeah.
But that's what I love about it. And for me, I like to, I don't know, it's a problem solving thing. It's an artistic thing. I like to just try to come up with new ideas, and sometimes it sucks, but it's very therapeutic for me too. As someone with anxiety, it's something that helps me just kind of calm down and just use my hands, and it's very tactile. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to go about it.
That's wonderful. Now, how many Lego bricks do you step on a day?
Oh man. The soles of my feet are very Hobbit-like. They've developed calluses, so I don't feel it anymore. Much like Sam and Frodo climbing the stairs of Cirith-Ungol. Talk about a segue there.
yeah. Listeners, what you don't know actually is that that's how Hobbit feet came to evolve.
Yes.
It was because they were stepping on. The Shire is actually built out of Lego.
Exactly.
They're just stepping on Lego all the time. Now, have you ever played any of the Lego video games?
Yeah. I've played a few of the Star Wars ones, and then I played a couple levels of this one, and I can't remember which levels of Lord of the Rings that I played. I remember my friend had it, I think when we were teenagers, and I went over there, and I think I just helped with a couple levels. I think they were Return of the King. If I remember right, it was toward the end when they're walking through Mordor, I think. But some of this felt very familiar. Yeah. Yeah, because this, I don't know, and this is something that I say every week that I'm like, I should have looked this up between recordings or whatever, but I don't know much about the other Lego games other than the Harry Potter. I've played the Harry Potter games, but this one especially is very curated for 2-player mode. Yeah.
Because they always, it is a discussion point that I have in my list of notes for later, that they always make sure to give you 2 characters to play as in each level, so that if you have a friend over, they can be playing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to really shoehorn it in to be like, what other character could be in this situation?
I noticed that here as well. I had that same thought.
Which is an interesting problem, I think, to have, because with Lord of the Rings, you'd be like, oh, you're never going to run out of characters to have. But there are a few circumstances where I'm like, no, it doesn't really make sense, but oh well.
Yeah. As far as I know, they've always done that. They've always tried to make it a 2-player communal thing. But there's funny other little changes that I've noted, like in the olden days, talk about being old. With the old games, they would never have dialogue. It was all, the story was always told through no dialogue. This is
one of the first ones, I think. Maybe not the first one, but one of the first that they had started using the movie dialogue.
Yeah, and I think within like all the newer ones, they tend to try to do dialogue, and they'll throw in movie dialogue. But I was more used to the older Star Wars, where there's just a few grunts and just no dialogue at all. So
yeah. I really wish that this game was out on a more modern console, because I think this would be a really great thing for you to play with your oldest.
Yeah.
Like, he's the perfect age, I think, for who this game is who like the Lego games are targeted at. And then having this like 2-player, people love to talk about like video games being this like negative thing, like, oh, people just go and shut themselves in their basement and play video games, and like, sure, there is a time for that. For example, I will be doing that in 2 weeks when the new Zelda game comes out. I will not be leaving my apartment for 48 hours. But there is like a lot of fun like bonding that you can do, and you can play with other people, and especially for kids, it helps with like their communication skills to be like, you go over there and I'll do this, and like all this stuff. So
we played Star Wars together. He really likes the Star Wars games. I haven't ventured into Lord of the Rings too much with him, just in general. I've read him parts of The Hobbit, but I'm trying to figure out what angle to introduce him, because I think he'd really like Lord of the Rings, but he's also,
I think if it was just out on a newer console, I think the game would be really great, because there are a lot of moments that are obviously very dark and depressing, but being Lego, it makes it more lighthearted and funny, and it kind of gets the gist of the story across, you know.
I know the literary nerd in me is like, no, he has to read the books first.
I know, yeah.
But then part of me is like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Casey. Come on, because I think he would really like it. I think he'd like this game. So
yeah. So once again, I'm pleading with Lego. Release it on a modern console.
Yeah. Just update it, make it awesome. That's what they should do. Oh my gosh,
yes. Let's dive into these levels. Today we're talking about the Secret Stairs, Cirith Ungol, and Paths of the Dead.
This is a dark group of levels.
Yeah.
Lots of tunnels and dungeons and spiders, ghosts.
Exactly.
Everything dark.
Spiders and ghosts and orcs. Oh my.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, I was it's been fun to reach out to guests for this, because I say like, oh, I highly recommend watching all the cutscenes because they're very silly, they're very funny. But I was going through them for these levels, and I was like, usually they're very funny and lighthearted, but at this point in the game, they're really trying to move through the plot. So there's a lot of the earlier humor is not there anymore. It's gotten quite serious in terms of Lego. It's like not as funny. There are still like bits of humor here and there, but like it's Return of the King. There's a lot to get through in 6 levels. To kind of like catch you up, Casey, they made a very interesting decision at the end of the Two Towers portion of the game, where they continued they're at Isengard, and they continued into the first scene in Return of the King where Aragorn and Gandalf are reuniting with Merry and Pippin and Treebeard, and then Saruman and all of that. So they took that scene that's at the beginning of Return of the King movie, and they kept going when they adapted it into the game. So, which I have a lot of storyboarding issues with this game. So like that's one of them that was just kind of like weird and interesting, whatever. So we've technically already progressed, as I put in my notes, the B plot side of the story with like everyone else, you know?
Sure.
So when we start off Return of the King, it picks up right with Frodo and Sam and Gollum. We don't get any of the Gollum backstory. There's no nuance allowed in Lego games because we don't have time for that. We got to get to smashing Legos. You are outside the gates. I think it's Minas Morgul, whatever the
Minas Morgul
castle is, that I always think kind of looks like Oz. But just a little bit darker.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
There's a cutscene out there, and Gollum saying like, we can't go that way, we'll have to go up these stairs. So then you start playing as Sam, Gollum, and Frodo, trying to piece together like a way to get up to the stairs. Very creepily, whenever you are not playing as Frodo, whenever you switch to doing something as Sam or Gollum, Frodo will say, and they're using the movie dialogue. So you hear Elijah Wood saying like, it calls to me, Sam, or something. And he starts walking slowly towards Minas Morgul. And so you have to quickly do whatever you're doing as Sam or Gollum, because there are some actions that you have to do with their character abilities. And then you have to switch back to Frodo to get him to walk away, because if he starts getting too close, he'll lose some of his heart points.
Yeah.
So that was a level of detail that I was like, that's a bit frightening.
Yeah, it's creepy. And sort of relatedly, I feel like Gollum has to be one of the creepiest Lego figures. Like, I can't even decide if which version is creepier, like the real movie Gollum or this Lego. Like,
I think it's this one.
it's terrifying.
I think it's this one. Yeah, that's so amazing that you brought that up unprompted, because I'm pretty sure I have a point in here to ask you. How do you feel about the Gollum Lego? Because it is weird looking.
Well, and relatedly too, I don't know if it shows the scene later of or if if they show the Mouth of Sauron scene in the game.
Yeah, I don't no, I have not played. I have only played up through the Paths of the Dead part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if they'll bring it, because the game has been including a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's only in the extended editions. And the Mouth of Sauron is an extended edition scene. So I don't know. It could easily be something that they just asking, blow past.
Yeah, because they did release a like Black Gates set with a Mouth of Sauron figure, which I think is the scariest Lego figure ever made. It's terrifying, and I kind of want it, but
I'm looking it up now.
I'm curious if they did that scene in the game, which I would think they would if they have an actual set for it.
Oh yeah, he's creepy looking.
Yeah. I recommend looking it up unless you're squeamish.
Ew, yeah. Also, that reminds me, the Lego piece for the Black Rider, I think is kind of funny, because it's just like it's a helmet, and then you can see like the Lego head, but it's just black. Like there's no, face or anything on it.
Yeah, that's great. And it's funny when the helmet always looks a little bit too big, for their head.
Yeah.
And
these like tiny little head pieces. Yeah. Also, another detail that I noticed is that with Frodo, his hearts they're like grayed out or something. There's like, they're not like the usual red heart symbol. And it's to signify that he's in this like weakened state, that like he's not himself or something, or that like even if you I think it could have been interesting that maybe whenever you play as Frodo, instead of having 4 hearts, he only has like 2 or something, but they like grayed out his hearts, or they like added some kind of I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but they did something to show that he's not himself, to say the least. Then you go into a part where you're climbing the stairs, and there are, bits of the stairs that have fallen away, or you have to, do these certain chains of events to go across gaps or build extra steps and continue climbing. And I like that part of that like playable part of the level is something that is explained by the story. Like it's very believable that like these stairs would be crumbling and decrepit, and that there would be gaps, and that there would be parts where that like you can't just keep climbing, and that like it would be difficult and arduous,
Yeah, sometimes they have to add like random stuff to make the level more interesting for the video game, but that doesn't seem to be
and
the
sometimes
case.
It doesn't make sense, and you're like, this is why am I playing this part? But this one did make sense to me. And also every now and then there were like really weird camera angles. And so like you would like climb up, and then like it would shift to like the next part of the level, and then it would be like a camera angle from above. And it was just like very like weird and unsettling. And they did a good job of like getting the vibes right, this is a creepy and unsettling part of the story. So we have a cutscene where Frodo turns on Sam. I know that they're just adapting what is in the movie, but it's almost comical when they do the Sam is saying like, I could carry it for a while. I could share the load. Yeah. And it's like in slow-mo and it's zooming in on his mouth.
His Lego mouth.
His Lego mouth. It's really funny.
That's my favorite part.
That
they use the same exact camera angles and camera distances, but it's all Lego, and it's so funny.
Something that I just remembered that I forgot to mention in the first episode, when the scene where they're leaving the Shire and that single Black Rider finds them and they're hiding from him, they use that the like dolly shot of the woods where like it zooms in and then like
focus shot. Yeah.
I couldn't remember the exact like cinematic like terminology, but like they use that exact same shot
I love that.
and style for the Lego game. I'm like, wow, they're dedicated in some parts. Frodo tells Sam to leave. When Frodo and Gollum keep going up and Sam is standing there, Gollum like waves at him, and then Sam shakes his fist. But I must have looked down when Gollum was waving.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like I looked away for like half a second, because when I looked back, I thought they were like flipping each other off, but obviously they have Lego hands, so it's just like
yeah.
it's just like angry shaking of like a hand that's in like this one position. Right. But either way, like it's very fun. I was like, what a like funny little bit of adult humor to put in a Lego game, but no, he's just like angrily shaking his fist at him. It's very funny when like the actual like physics of what Lego people look like, you know, comes into play. So then you have to play as Frodo and Gollum, and you're walking through Shelob's lair, and I hated this. Like, it was creepy and
I hated
unsettling.
Even just watching it. Like, every time there's like mountains of little baby spiders, I was just like, no.
Gross. Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's awful. And like you can hear, they put in like all these little sound effects for like spiders scuttling around. And
because this is like an older model of the little spider piece that Lego made, and they've like updated it since then, and it looks way more realistic, like the little spider piece. And so
great.
I find those on the on the kids' bedroom floor all the time, and I have to like look at it for a second and decide, is that a real spider or is that the Lego spider? It's usually the Lego, but occasionally it's a real spider.
All it takes is one time for y'all to be like cleaning up and be like, okay, let me grab this Lego spider, and it's a real spider.
Oh no,
it's happened. All it takes is one time for that to happen.
One of our buckets, we like one of the Lego buckets, we just keep like the random accessory type weird pieces, like not the bricks. And that's where the spiders would be. And there was a literal real spider just crawling around in that bucket. So must have thought those were his friends. Awful. I don't know.
Wow. What was Lego thinking?
Right.
They're like, we have to make this piece of plastic
as real as possible.
Look as realistic as possible. So I couldn't tell if this was a me thing, if this was a glitch in the game, or if this was intentional, because leading up to this part, there were some, I was having some like lighting issues when I was playing through the stairs part, where like it would get dark and then it would get light all of a sudden. So, which I think that was a glitch, and I like exited real quick to go back to like my TV menu to be like, has the light bulb in my TV gone out? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But in this level, you have to have the light of Galadriel out in order to see. And whenever I put it away, it was like engulfed in darkness. The reason I think it might be an intentional thing is that you could still see the like character icons in the upper corners. So it wasn't like the whole screen went dark or anything. I was like, if it was a glitch or if it was intentional, whatever, it was cool that like you have to have the light of Galadriel out in order to see and progress through the level. Like really showing you like how dark and grim this section is. I
thought maybe just the Eye of Sauron looked away for a bit.
Oh,
I'm joking. I don't really think that.
Okay, I was like, I was trying to go through the logistics of that.
It wouldn't get through the cave
in my head. I'm like, how would that work? Because he is like even more so in this game, it is a literal spotlight,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, again, very, very creepy level. Going through this part, there's like spider eggs that you have to break open, and then baby spiders come out. There's tons of skeletons everywhere. At one point, Gollum stopped following me, and I thought this was an intentional piece of the story, that like you're playing the level and all of a sudden you realize Gollum isn't there anymore, because that's what happens in the story.
Yeah.
Gollum slinks away. But I turned back, and no, it just turns out that like the NPC had like gotten like stuck in a corner. So then there's a cutscene where Frodo is stuck in the web, and he and Gollum get into a fight. And eventually Frodo, he realizes what the ring is doing to him, and that it does need to be destroyed, and he tosses Gollum over the edge. And this was a part that I wish Peter Jackson had done. This
I love this part too.
We flash down to Sam climbing down the stairs, and we see Gollum fall past him. And then he, does a little wave
So
like, heh, bye.
He waves at him, yeah.
Really love that part.
I did too. That was
great. Yeah, Sam and Frodo are reunited and they, walk away happily. And then there's an angle where, I think they're supposed to be orcs, but the Lego character design for these people, they look more like people than orcs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of like confused about who it was supposed to be at first, but I think it's implied that it's an orc. And he's like kind of watching over them. And so this is where the level ends, which I was confused about. And this is where I once again think that Lego should hire me for their storyboarding department just for the Lord of the Rings game. Just hire me for this one thing, because I think I have better ideas of how to structure this game with the story elements that they have. I expected to go into a boss fight with Shelob at the end of this level. And then, it would end with Frodo being taken away by the orcs and Sam being like, oh no. And then we like cut away and go play as our other characters for a bit. So instead what happens, Sam and Frodo walk away, the level ends. And then it puts you back at what I have been calling the like level playground. And it's just like a playable menu area, kind of like, you're playing a Mario game and it dumps you back to the menu and you have to follow the path to go to the next level.
Sure.
There are different versions of that throughout the game where you can go in certain directions to enter certain levels. And so this part is, I guess, like a random piece of land outside of Mordor. And then the icon for the other characters is flashing, so I thought it wanted me to switch over to the other characters' side of the plot. So I did that because I was also worried that if I continued playing as Frodo and Sam, that it would progress me too far.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was trying to do it in like, some order that resembled the order of the story. So I did this part like really weird and out of order, where I watched the cutscene for the Paths of the Undead level first, where they're in Edoras and it's the scene with the Palantir.
Yeah.
And then it dumps you back on the like level menu part as Aragorn, and the only option is to go to the Paths of the Dead. And I really expected that you would just continue playing as Gandalf and that you would go to Minas Tirith. So I was just like all over the place. I didn't know like what order I was supposed to do things. So I was like, I guess I'll go back to Frodo and Sam. Okay, so I did that. And we see Frodo getting stabbed by Shelob and, getting wrapped up like a mummy. The face he has when he's wrapped up is really funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's really great. Which is even funnier because I remember there's trivia, really specific trivia about this moment in the movie, because Elijah Wood has this like secret ability to like his like eye to like not blink forever and like have his eyes glaze over, and like there was all this effort put in the movie, and then in this part of the game he just has like this very, very funny like expression on his face. So this is what I was referring to earlier, where they need to put in another character in order to keep that same 2-player ability. So they put in, I believe he's an orc that in the book, when they're traveling through Mordor, they overhear this orc talking, and his name is Shagrat, which I cannot separate from. There's a Bible story with I think it's Shadrach.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And so my brain cannot separate that.
I do the same exact thing. So yeah,
okay.
You're good.
Just like very random, whatever. So yeah, you fight Shelob and you can play as Sam and Shagrat, this just random orc that I'm like, why are we fighting alongside this orc?
Yeah.
Like, why is this orc helping us? Why is this orc fighting Shelob? Like, it's very confusing story-wise, character motivation-wise, but it's just an element of a video game that they had to put in order to make it continue to work as a
because
video
you could
game.
play as Shagrat and like defeat Shelob, but then it cuts to Sam defeating Shelob.
Shelob, yeah. They're like, we're not going to change the plot that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you play as Sam and Shagrat, and you have to pick up the vial of Galadriel and Sting, and then Shelob will give you this like opportunity to stab her. You do that 3 times. And then in between each round of attack, she'll like send down her spiders and she'll like shoot you with webs and stuff. Also very annoyingly, it makes you like you accidentally drop Sting and the vial, because every time you start the attack over, you have to go back and pick it up where it was at the beginning. So that's just like annoying. But like overall, not, like a long and extensive fight. I thought it was going to go on. I thought given that like Shelob is a huge like villain, I was like, this is going to be like a big battle or something. And it wasn't as hard as I thought. Maybe that's just because I've gotten used to like the mechanics of a Lego game and everything. And also maybe because I'm an adult and playing a kid's game.
No, don't sell yourself short. You're just really good at this game, and you're awesome. Thank you. Just killed Shelob so fast.
So, yeah, like you said, there's a cutscene where Sam is, defeating Shelob. Then he, like, kind of turns around and it's, too late. The orcs are talking about Frodo and they're like, he's not dead. Go ahead and take him to the tower. Mm-hmm. So, again, this is where I think I'm better at storyboarding than the Lego game developers. Because if you had put the Shelob fight at the end of the previous level, then there would be this passage of time that would then kind of explain, it would make things feel a little bit more natural for what happens next. And then you could just start this level, so you see Frodo get carried off, and then almost immediately it cuts to him waking up in the tower.
Yeah.
The orcs are going through his stuff. Again, classic Lego humor. They're like going through they like pick up his like mithril shirt thing, and it's just like torso. A Lego torso. Yeah. It's so fun. Like they do that bit in a lot of games. Yeah. But it's so funny.
It's so
every
funny.
time.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
Just like, here's your shirt, and it's a torso. When Sam shows up to save him, and Frodo's like, oh no, the ring, and he's like, no, they haven't got it, Mr. Frodo. And he again picks up a torso and like shakes it out, and then the ring falls out.
Which is so great, because if when you have buckets of Lego and there's torsos, little pieces can get, stuck in there. So it's stuck just together, so perfect that the ring was inside of it. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, they're happily reunited, and then it goes back into the gameplay. I really expected that you were going to play as Sam going into the tower, and that you would have to fight orcs off going up to save Frodo, but instead that was like they just like, cut through that stuff right away.
Yeah.
So if you had arranged the game like I'm suggesting with Shelob at the end of the previous level, then you could start this level off by having Sam fight the other orcs and go up and save Frodo, just to like add a little bit more gameplay into it. Of course, I guess that does get into the same issue as the fight with Shelob, where Sam is alone. So who would be the other character that you play as? So maybe that's why they didn't choose to do that. So maybe I'll give that one to the developers who do this for a living. So then you descend down the tower, and as you go, the orcs start, like each additional like little level of the tower that you get to, there are more orcs like fighting against each other and turning on each other, which I thought was fun, because that's like a little detail, from the I think from the book. I can't remember how much of that is a part of the movie. Yeah, the orcs are like turning on each other, and you just have to like destroy like one or two instead of a dozen or something.
Yeah.
Then you play trying to gather pieces of an orc uniform in order to disguise Sam and Frodo so that they can escape. I got myself all turned around and confused with this part because there's this one part where orc is like pulling up a gate and you can't pass. And I thought, oh, you're supposed to, at that point, you've you've collected a helmet and armor, like just one of each piece. So I was like, oh, you're supposed to disguise either Sam or Frodo with the orc gear that you have at that moment so that you can go past this guy who's pulling up this gate. But I had Sam pick up one piece and Frodo pick up another, and then I couldn't get either of them to drop it. Like they were just wearing it, and I could not get them to drop it so that the other person could have a full disguise. So I was just running around frantically being like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do here. So I had to quit and then come back. Turns out all of that was unnecessary. I had to look up a tutorial. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use Frodo's cloak of invisibility. I mean, his elven cloak. To sneak past this guy who's like pulling up this gate. And this walkthrough that I looked up also said that this is apparently an homage to Solid Metal Gear. And I was like, okay, is it though?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not familiar at all, but I just thought that was the most random thing I could have read in a Lego game walkthrough, you know?
I love that in this section that we learn that Lego orcs, at least, will take showers. So that's important information. I don't think that the real
even
orcs probably do, but
yeah,
the Lego versions do.
Yeah, it's a bit where you break a pipe that has like green sludge coming out of it, and then it starts spilling on top of one orc, and so he jumps into the shower, and then and then he stays in the shower for the whole level. And if you like go back to him, you can hear him like singing in the shower and humming. Very funny. So yeah, it ends with a cutscene of Frodo and Sam getting out, and they're kind of like looking over this expanse of Mordor, and you know, classic Frodo being depressed and Sam lovingly supporting him. Right. And again, this is, you know, like I said, there's not as much like humor in this part of the game. Like that scene is played very like straight to how it is in the movie. Like there's no little Legoism. I would say the only thing that's a little funny is just that one of the helmets is like a bird helmet, and it just kind of like looks a little silly, and that's it. Now switching over to the B plot. In Edoras, everyone's having the sleepover. I was very surprised that this being a Lego game that they cut. I thought they would for sure but I guess it's a kids game, so they can't include like the drinking game scene that Gimli and Legolas do. Maybe there was a way that they could have like they're eating chicken legs or something instead. But there's like lots of fun little bits of humor in that scene that I thought for sure Lego would include. But they just cut right to this slumber party where Pippin goes over. I believe reminder, Gandalf is storing the Palantir under his beard. Yeah.
And Gandalf's eyes are closed. Like, what's that about? Like, why?
That was one thing they were like,
me.
This is creepy.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to change this. We're going to make the creepiest Gollum Lego you've ever seen. But we're going to change this part.
We're going to make sure Gandalf's eyes are closed while he sleeps.
And Pippin swaps it out, does like an Indiana Jones swap out with, I believe, a chamber pot. Because it's a bucket and he like sniffs it and is like, ugh. I don't know what was being implied there.
That was odd, yeah.
The only other thing I could think of is that like it was a bucket that someone had thrown up in because they had been partying the night before. Yeah. I don't know what that was, but he swaps it out with a bucket of some kind.
Well, I thought he put Gandalf's hand in it, like if it was water, like he's going to make Gandalf pee.
Wet
like,
the bed?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what it was. That would be kind of funny. Yeah. That's very on brand for Pippin. Yeah. I like the idea that, we're in Middle Earth, this like fantastical land, and Pippin is just resorting to like practical jokes. Like doing the thing where where you put a rubber band around the sprayer on a sink. Yeah. Putting what else does everyone do? Yeah. The part where Pippin looks into the Palantir is a little goofier here because the Palantir like swings him around the room like it's like he's possessed and it's a ghost or something. Gandalf throws the Palantir away and then like tosses his hat over top of it to stop the spying. We learn from Pippin about what he saw, that there's a white tree and it's burning.
I thought that here they would have shown something funny, like he saw something funny in the Palantir, like something I don't even know what, but it's just played straight.
They're extremely no funny business anymore for Lego. All serious from here on out.
The hand in the cup of water was the last one.
The last joke. There's not going to be anything funny from here on out. Yeah. So the next morning, Gandalf is explaining what's happening, that he will be going to Minas Tirith. And when he says, and I won't be going alone, Pippin hides behind Merry. Very cute, very funny. So they trot off, and this is where I thought we were going to play as Gandalf. Yeah. And I thought we were going to go to Minas Tirith and have a Minas Tirith level. I was convinced that we were going to have a sequence where you have to light the beacons, because there are so many parts in this game so far where you have to light things on fire. So I was convinced that there was going to be a sequence where you are lighting every beacon, or you're doing something that, does a cause and effect thing that makes the other beacon light or whatever. But that has not happened. And then looking forward to the names of the next levels, I think it's just it's one level combining so many different plot elements all at once. You don't go to Minas Tirith, so now you play as Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, and there's a cutscene that's basically all of the lead up to the Paths of the Dead from the movie. Aragorn and Theoden are saying less than half of what I hoped for. You get the ominous shot of the creepy woods and all the horses freaking out. Elrond shows up to give Aragorn Anduril. This is a little bit of humor that they put in. Aragorn's swinging it around and he almost hits Elrond. And so Elrond tells him that he needs to go awaken the army of the dead. And then they go off, and you get the creepy Legolas exposition talking about what happened as they're walking through. Yeah, another level of just walking through creepy tunnels. And I wonder if I don't know. I know nothing about what goes into the structure of creating a video game and everything. If they made Shelob's Lair and then they were hey, let's use that again, right, and just copy and paste, but just put different set pieces and have it go a different path or something, right. But it was very similar. There's fog on the ground, and as you walk through certain sections, sometimes a ghost will come out and attack you. I was too impatient to figure out if there was a pattern to when that happened, if it was if there was a way that a certain spot looked on the ground that would signify, hey, this is where a ghost is going to attack you. I just kept charging forward because I was I want to get out of here as fast as possible.
I don't blame you.
There's skeletons everywhere. It's very fun that it's canonical that this part of the movie is filled with skulls.
Yeah.
And then in this part, it's just Lego heads that are skeletons.
I love that. I found that so funny. Just the Lego and the sounds that they were making just sounded really funny too. It's a very comical kind of a skeleton sound. It was great. And
but then you have every now and then Gimli will say something, or Legolas will say something that's creepy and scary, and it's this. I'm having a lot of mood whiplash almost. Right. I don't know how to feel. Very cool continuity. Where now that Aragorn has Anduril, he can destroy Morgul Lego pieces. Because in the very opening level, when you were playing as Isildur and he had Narsil, you could destroy Morgul Lego piece. That's a very hard phrase to say.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, you could use Narsil to destroy the Morgul Lego pieces, and then now that Aragorn has Anduril, you can do it again. So I thought that was a cool thing that it's hey, this is awesome. An ability that you could do only with this sword, and then now that you have it again, the ability comes back. Oh, there's one point where you have to just push this statue to the side to climb up a ladder. But the statue has a sword. And I kept like falling off the part that you had climbed up, and I would land on top of the sword and it would hurt me. And I like couldn't get them to jump off of it fast enough. And I died like that twice. It killed my characters twice. This statue that's not
sword.
even moving with a sword. That's just like classic. That's not like me complaining about the game or anything. That's just like user error.
Yeah.
Then you get to the end of the level as you have progressed through the tunnels, and the army of the dead reveals itself. The king comes out. Gimli grabs Legolas's hand, like he's like shivering and shaking, and he like grabs Legolas's hand when they come out. I thought that was very cute, very fun.
So wholesome. I love it.
Yes. Oh, it's so great. And Legolas kind of like looks down at him and then like sighs, but like kind of shrugs it off. So then you fight the king, and you have to build different platforms and then jump up onto the platform so that you're on his level because he's floating. And then you have to like, hit him 3 times, and then that sequence happens another 3 times. The battle kind of ends. Aragorn's like, please come fight with us. And the king laughs at him. And then a pile of skulls comes like falling out of the doors and chases them out. I was kind of bummed out by this cutscene because there was I can't remember the exact lines, but the king says like the way has been shut, and then Aragorn goes, it has been remade whatever. And that moment where his sword clashes and meets with his ghost sword. It's a very like wonderful, iconic part from this part in the movie that I was like kind of sad didn't make it into Lego World. But they continue to run outside, and we move into like extended edition scene territory where we see the 3 of them being kind of like sad and disappointed, like, well, that was our last ditch effort and it didn't work. Great. And you see the black sails of Umbar coming up the river, and then the king comes out and decides to help them.
Right.
We get a shot of the bad guys on the ships, and they're like rah, 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 and one of them has a carrot because previously Pippin had been using a carrot as his weapon.
So good.
So I like that there's, that little kind of inside joke that in this universe, a carrot is equivalent to a sword.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the camp at Rohan, and Theoden is kind of giving his speech to Eowyn. She's standing there like so excited and proud. She's like, oh my God, I'm finally going to get to fight. She's so excited. And then Theoden goes like, you will stay here and rule over our people.
Yeah.
And this is where they did Eowyn so dirty, because she is the only character. I mean, I guess I can say so far, but like I'm almost done with the game. She's the only character that they will just take her dialogue away and just have her go like, ugh.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. I noticed that.
The people are to follow your rule in my stead. Long may you defend Edoras, if the battle goes in.
And I'm like, this is sexist.
Yeah.
This is not and it's also just like the irony of doing it so they've already, Arwen is non-existent in this game.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen her at all. Arwen does not exist. Galadriel barely exists. She exists in a very brief cutscene in Lorien. And so then you have this one female character whose plot is about dismantling the patriarchy of Middle Earth. And they take away her dialogue and just have her sigh or mumble. And it makes her come off as like having an attitude and being, like annoyed and angry. It's like now she's like the angry woman, and I'm just like, this is sexist. I'm writing to Lego right now. Then Theoden tells Merry, he's so mean. He tells Merry that he'll be a burden, and that no horses can bear him to, where are they going?
Pelennor.
Gondor.
Yeah.
And so Mary's sad and says that like a hobbit has no place fighting here. So then Mary's sad. Everyone goes, trotting off. And then Eowyn comes in and swoops in and pulls him up on... He doesn't ride on her horse. He has his own little tidy pony or something. Yeah. It's just like a sized down version.
Yeah. So good.
That was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's riding. In my world, he's riding Bill the Pony.
Oh, definitely Bill the Pony.
Eowyn does at least speak here. She says, "Ride with me."
Yeah. And
then Mary says, like, "Of course, my lady." And that's where the scene and the level ends. Just a few random notes that I forgot to share in the past, but I was kind of like reminded about while playing this part. I've only noticed it for 2 characters so far, so maybe I'll try to pay attention to the other characters. But when you're playing as Aragorn and you leave him idle for a bit, like you're not moving or doing anything, he'll like swing his sword around like he's just bored. And then Frodo will nervously like he'll be like... and like nervously check himself
That's right.
for the ring. And so I was just like, that's a weird piece of detail that is fun. And also, I don't know, it's just kind of like there are some parts that are so glossed over in these games, and then other parts that they put a lot of attention to detail in that I'm like, what's up with this? Yeah. But yeah, that's the first half of Return of the King, and then next week we will finish Lego Lord of the Rings. Yay!
Awesome.
I will, by the way, listeners, I will not be doing the Hobbit game. I heard it was, first of all, it's based off of movies that no one really likes.
Yeah.
They're fun. They're fine. I'm not necessarily excited enough by the movies to relive it in Lego form. And then also, so apparently they didn't finish the Hobbit games.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I think so. The Lego game, obviously they did it all in one game, but I think the Hobbit game, they were releasing it as the movies were coming out, so they were doing it movie by movie, and I don't think they did the last one.
Yeah.
So not going to start a game that doesn't conclude.
Right. Yeah.
Not going to put myself through that pain, Yeah. Casey, was there any other like Lego knowledge or anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Nothing really specific. There was one. I was a little bit perturbed by Shadowfax. I think Shadowfax looks creepy in Lego form.
I don't think there's any good way to make a Lego horse, to be fair.
The regular Lego horses look fine because their heads, they have like the straps, but because Shadowfax doesn't have any straps, so he just looks like a giant lamb or something. And maybe that's part of the charm. That was one of the things that perturbed me a little bit. I am curious about who your like favorite character in minifigure form has been thus far.
I don't know. I haven't like paid too much attention to what their like individual design is or anything. I feel like it's so basic to be like, if I have the option, I'm probably playing as Aragorn.
I don't think that's basic. It's Aragorn.
It's Aragorn.
He's rad.
Yeah. I will say that, we already talked about it, but the absolute least favorite one is Gollum.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not just in the way that he looks, but when you play as him, he has this one ability that he can climb up walls and go, like gravity doesn't apply to him, and it's just creepy. I hate it.
Yeah,
it's gross. I don't like it.
Stop.
I would love to play as Eowyn,
right?
So I hope that happens. I'm kind of half expecting at this point that they're going to completely ruin the Witch King thing, and that like it's just going to be a cutscene. Or I know that like there's a lot of Lego humor of just like sticking their tongue out and being like,
right.
So I'm kind of worried that it's just gonna boil down to Eowyn like sticking her tongue out at the Witch King and being like, nanny boo boo.
Well,
I'm like, no, it's a great moment.
I don't blame you for your frustration because Lego has never released an Eowyn minifigure, like an actual minifigure. Back when they were doing more Lego sets for Lord of the Rings, as far as I know, like I have a few of them, but I don't think they ever made Eowyn.
Maybe the timing didn't work out right of when like the movies were popular and when Lego, I feel like Lego the past several years has really like blown up and had, I don't know, more of like a resurgence, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that there aren't that many like Lord of the Rings related Lego stuff.
Yeah, for a while there they had the license and they made a few sets, and then kind of after the Hobbit, I don't even think through all the Hobbit movies either. I think, and maybe that's part of the video game thing. Maybe they lost the license. I don't know, but kind of after the first or second Hobbit movie, they didn't make any more sets.
Yeah.
And they just barely released the big Rivendell set, but other than that, they haven't really done much Lord of the Rings wise with the physical product.
Yeah, just super surprising to me because there's so many endless opportunities for things you can do for Lord of the Rings.
For sure.
With Lego sets and everything.
But bring us Eowyn. We want Eowyn.
Eowyn, yes. I would love to build a... see, this is why I should work for Lego. A Shards of Narsil set.
Oh, see, that would be awesome.
But then, once you build the Shards of Narsil, you can put it together and have it be Anduril.
That would be fantastic.
See,
genius.
I'm a genius.
So good. They really should.
Casey, thank you for coming out of my basement of guests. You'll have to go back in there once we wrap up. Sorry.
As long as there's not spiders down there, real or Lego version, I'll be fine.
Where can people find you on the internet if you would like them to find you on the internet?
Oh, I don't care anymore. They can look me up if they want to. They can find a way. Life finds a way. But would you be okay if I linked your photography? Yeah, sure.
And creative Instagram in the bio, because you've been posting some like really cool fun stuff on there, and also some like Lego specific stuff.
Lego
as well.
specific stuff. That's true. I do have a creative Instagram these days, and I just do whatever the heck I feel like. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes,
isn't it great to do whatever the heck you feel like?
So great. Sometimes it's like, oh, I saw a cool bird and I took a picture of this cool bird. And other times I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a very specific lighted picture of this Lego minifigure, or I'll write a poem. So kind of whatever the heck I feel like.
Love it. That's What I'm Talking About's cover art is by Vaishon Brandon. You can support him on Instagram at Vaishon Designs. You can get merch for That's What I'm Talking About by going to tpublic.com/user/talkingaboutpod. You can follow the podcast on social media at TolkienAboutPod, and you can follow me on Twitter and TikTok at MCWhatsup and on Instagram at MCTurnDownForWhat. If you want to support the podcast, you can become a patron. Go to patreon.com/talkingaboutpod to explore the different levels of support that are available. I appreciate anyone who wants to show their support, but of course this week I extra appreciate our sponsor, Alan. Alan, thank you so much for your continued support of the podcast. It's so wonderful and it means so much to me. This podcast has been made possible by listeners like you. Thank you. And as always, if you like what you're listening to, please make sure to rate and review. Casey, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Do you have any parting words for the audience?
No, I'll just wave to them as they fall down the cliff below me.
And that's what I'm talking about.